creating some kind of social graphic and then actually uploading it right into ChatGPT and asking it for some caption ideas, different ways, different hashtags, things that I could do with that graphic.
Hello and welcome to the Service-Based Business Society podcast. I am your host, Tiffany-Ann Bottcher. If you're ready to scale your success, grow your business, and live that entrepreneurial life, click subscribe because we're about to get started.
Guys, welcome back for another episode. It's going to be a good one. I have been so looking forward to this topic. And, I think that we're going to have lots of listeners from different stances on this topic. And that is what makes this topic even more important and exciting to share. So today we are talking with Jonathan Mast, who in my opinion is the AI guru. Jonathan shares AI knowledge, tips, techniques, strategies in a way that is easy to understand, easy to implement, and can make a difference in your business now. Before you anti-AI listeners shut the episode off, I encourage you to listen and learn what AI can do for you in different ways, because AI is here to stay. And I think it's important to know more about the topic. Lots of times when we don't know things about something, it makes us nervous. We pull back. We've talked about a variety of topics on the show over past seasons, but this is a topic that I think can really revolutionize your business. And if you're here to scale success, then you need to listen and pull from it what you will. And those who are avid AI users, there is so much value for you here as well. I constantly am learning things from Jonathan and implementing them in different ways. So Jonathan started in digital marketing in 1990. And so over many years, he has learned lots of different things, and his ability to share knowledge in a way that is understandable is second to none. I cannot wait to share this episode and really encourage you to take some of these tips and strategies and implement them. Do the next step. Listen, learn, and then implement. Knowledge sitting on the shelf, although more valuable than no knowledge, is still not helping you scale your success. So, super excited. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. I have been following you online for a very long time because this is a topic near and dear to my heart, total nerd, and I have been on I want to know everything about AI since the very beginning. And one of the things that you see all the time is you see such just little corners of AI that are super cool, but shared online. And, you sharing online is one of the places where I get the most diverse information. It's not always just about one little piece or, one specific workflow, or it's just a general knowledge. And so I'm here for it and I'm soaking it up. So I'm super excited to dive in and learn more about you and how you even got into this, because, if I check out your website, you've been in the industry for a really long time, but AI has maybe not been so prevalent in that time. So I'd love to hear more about how you got started and how you found your passion in AI.
Yeah, no, I'd love to share that. Thanks for asking. Well, as you know, if you've checked out my website, I've actually been in the digital marketing field for a very long time. I love to tell people I've earned all this white hair. I sold my first website to a client in 1995. And we actually did it. We mocked it up on a PowerPoint. I worked for another company at that time, and the boss said, if you can sell this, I'll hire whoever we need to do in order to deliver it. And I'm like, okay. I was a sales guy. That seemed like a good challenge to me. So we mocked everything up in PowerPoint. We sold it. I brought the contract back to him, and he goes, I guess I need to hire some people. And that's kind of how I got started in the digital marketing world. I had a few falters along the way. I've made some mistakes in life. And again, I'd really started in sales and done well there. And then decided I needed to learn marketing, and probably have one of the more interesting stories about how I learned marketing. And everybody always is a bit surprised. So I mentioned I stumbled along the way a couple times and made a few mistakes. And one of those mistakes caused me to end up in prison for 3 years. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to meet another gentleman who was there on a conspiracy white-collar crime like I was. In other words, we should have known better than we did, and we didn't ask enough questions, and we got in trouble. No excuses. I was stupid. And he happened to be the dean of marketing at Ohio State University. And he said, I heard through the rumor mill, Jonathan, that you're here for about 3 years. And I said, yeah, I am. And he goes, I also heard that you want to learn marketing while you're here. And I said, yeah, I figure I got to make the best use of the time. Don't have a lot to do. And he was amazing. His name was Roger Blackwell. And he spent the next 3 years tutoring me on marketing and taught me. I don't want to say everything he knew because he was brilliant, but he taught me everything I know about marketing and was just an amazing mentor through that process. And then when I got out and realized I needed to rebuild my life and focus on that, I really got focused on the marketing side of things through digital marketing, started an agency of my own at that point in time, and again, we grew, we expanded, we built that to 7 figures. My wife got involved in it and actually just recently sold that agency last week, in fact, after 14 years almost in business. But along the way, as we grew it, I started having more and more, I'm not having so much fun here. My entrepreneurial brain kicked in, and as we grew as an agency, I had to follow more rules, and I'm an ADD rule bender type of guy, and it wasn't always as much fun. And so we talked a lot about it. And when AI came out, because of my ADD, AI was really appealing because I'm really good at hyper focusing, but I'm not good at doing that for a long period of time. AI allows me to really amplify that hyper focus because it can do things so much faster that I could often complete processes and complete projects before my bright shiny object squirrel kicked in and I went on to something else. And so I just saw so much potential for it, not only in the marketing world, but I have a real passion for helping teams and employees understand that because I've seen so many of them, for lack of a better description, kind of go into freak out mode going, oh no, I don't want AI because it's going to take my job. And I really have a passion for helping educate them and teach them that AI is a great tool that if they use and leverage can actually amplify their skill and experience with their employer and make them more valuable, not less. And so I decided to step away and started a new agency, and we're focused on really AI strategies, but surrounding the simplicity part of it on prompting. In other words, I'm platform agnostic. I don't have any software that I sell. I don't try to recommend a product. I try to teach people how to communicate with AI because like any relationship, and not to make it more personal than it is, communication is key. Whether that's my marriage, whether that's friends, whether that's coworkers. And I look at AI as a coworker. And so I need to learn how to communicate with it effectively so that I get the best possible results out of it. And that's really what I do now. I'm focused on helping people understand how do we communicate and how do we do it without overcomplicating it? Because there's a lot of people that love AI that are really, in my not so professional opinion, overcomplicating everything. And I try to keep it simpler.
Which is so important when we're talking about rolling it out into any kind of scalable, widespread audience. Because yes, there are some people who can do amazing things, but there's also amazing people that can do amazing things with code, with certain design element. You know what I mean? There's always that high level, and you can do amazing things. It's not to be discredited, but that isn't going to be, what the average person in their business can go out and use it for. And I think there's so much to be said for the prompting that is often just missed entirely. And it's just sometimes small changes can make such a big impact, like anything in business, really. Small, we always think about the big things. We always think about the big changes, the big dramatic things. But oftentimes there's so much more impact and value in just small, minor adjustments.
Yeah, no, and I think, it's natural that people tend to go towards some of the more complicated stuff. It's unfortunate that they started calling it prompt engineering because I think that took a lot of this us normal people. I am far from an engineer, trust me, and caused a lot of us to just go, oh, I don't get engineering. I don't want to go there. When in reality, it's much like texting. If you and I are texting, setting this up or following up prior to a meeting or anything like that, I find that communicating with AI is very similar. In other words, it should be a conversation, shouldn't just be one prompt, and I hope I get everything. But I also don't need to overcomplicate it. I can chat with it much as though I would chat with you, if I were walking over to your office and saying, hey, I need help to create a press release on this. And if that's something you're going to help me with, if you said, tell me what you need, and I said no and walked away, you probably couldn't create a great press release for me. But that's what a lot of us do with AI prompting. We go, oh, I want a press release about this. And then we don't give it any context, any background. And then the response that we get is really generic and it's not really applicable. And we go, well, AI is stupid. That didn't help. When in reality, if we given it the right information, or if you've seen my stuff, one of the things I recommend is let AI ask you questions to get the information it needs. If we've given it permission to do that, then all of a sudden the responses get magnitudes better very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So going back to your journey a little bit and diving into that a little more, there's this element of sales and marketing. And it's interesting because I come from a background with no sales and marketing experience whatsoever. Total, finance, nerd who didn't have it. And when I started my business, I very quickly figured out that, the fact that I'd had all this years of school and had all this years in the corporate made little to no difference. Because ultimately,
entrepreneurship, yes.
Right? Because ultimately it was like, well, that's great that I can do all of these great things, but if I can't sell them to anyone, if I can't actually do them, then we got a problem. And so I started immediately diving into all different parts of sales and did a couple of masterminds and mentorships and all these pieces. And so, I mean, I am far from any kind of sales and marketing expert from, in that regard, but we've, grown and we've done great things and lots of success in business. But, someone asked me recently, what is the most important skill? Like, out of all the things you've learned, what is the most important thing you've learned? And I said, sales. And they said, what? And I said, if you can't sell your idea, if you can't sell what you're offering or explain it to people in a way that makes them want to learn more about you're dead in the water. Ultimately, then you have to be able to go and hire someone that can go and do that for you. But an idea alone really goes nowhere. And so, you've got this multiple ideas, different things, different setbacks and growth. And ultimately it all comes from we're moving forward. We're doing it. You said, I failed a few things, but here you are and an agency for 14 years and all these things. That's a journey that it had some highs and lows, but the overall consensus is, hey, we're doing great things here.
Well, and for us, it was really, and for me, it still is today, it's about serving others. And I think of course, I am a sales guy, so I'm biased. I absolutely have always said nothing happens until somebody sells something. But the other side of that coin is for people that aren't in sales and marketing like yourself, we need the operational side to deliver what we sell. And you really need both in business, or you're not going to be successful, in my opinion, because I would have never been able to build a 7-figure agency had it not been for the fact that my wife happens to be an operational genius and she wanted to leave corporate America and spend more time with her youngest son. And so we negotiated. Okay, she told me what it was going to happen. She came to work for me and made it work. And that was an amazing thing because she brings to the table a level of skill and experience that I don't have. So you're right. Nothing happens until you sell. And that's so critical. It needs to happen because that ball has to start rolling. But salespeople are great at getting the ball rolling. We're just then really bad about directing it as it goes downhill. We kind of stand there and watch and go, oh, look, there it goes. And we need operational people to then come in and get involved and go, okay, you sold the client. Now introduce me to them so I can make sure we deliver and meet the expectations that you set. Because most salespeople, I'll only speak for myself, but most salespeople, we kind of suck at that delivery part.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I call it my corporate life, but there was 3 business partners together. We grew this business and I did the operations and finance and portion. And we had one, the visionary, charismatic CEO and then the person who did all the sales and customer management. He and I were always butting heads because he would do just that. And he would come back and he would say, okay, well, this is what I told them we could do. And I would say, what do you mean?
What? Yes, I've heard that.
And so super frustrating. But as I started my business, I really started to even see more value. It's funny. Hindsight's always 20/20. And so you learn so much as you go and you start to see so much value in some of those pieces that you maybe didn't appreciate at the time. And I thought, gosh, if I could go back and because I spent more time being like, hey, stop doing that than actually trying to learn. I mean, I wasn't in sales. So I thought, I don't need to know. And so it's interesting because now I think, gosh, gosh, had I been paying a little closer attention to some of those techniques, he was doing great.
Well, and again, it's you can't be everything to all people. So I think it's unlikely that that person that's good at operations is going to be good at sales. And in most cases, the person good at sales isn't going to be very good at operations either. It's why the multiple people are often needed to build a successful business.
Yes. And knowing when to bring those people in and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But oftentimes in today's day and age, going back to AI, sometimes you can, borrow some knowledge and some techniques
Absolutely.
and strategies instead of hiring people all the time.
No question. And I think AI can fill in a lot of those roles if we know the questions to ask. I think the hard part comes in especially as an entrepreneur, I need to know when to ask those questions. And I think that's something that at least I know I've struggled with sometimes, is not being aware that I had issues I needed to deal with. And so I wasn't asking the right questions. But AI is tremendous in that. It can really serve, I can create a virtual HR employee. I can create a virtual operations manager. I can create a virtual salesperson if I need to, but virtually anything along that path to help fill in the gaps that maybe I'm not really good at in my business. And there are a lot of ways, especially for smaller and medium-sized enterprises, that they can leverage those technologies and really amplify what they're doing for their clients. I love to say that AI amplifies skill and experience and allows us to deliver more value in less time. And most businesses can succeed well if they can do that, deliver more value and do that in less time.
Yes, absolutely. Ultimately, it's, whoever gets there first. Great ideas are great ideas. I was at a conference a while ago and something really resonated with me. And it was, the explanation of, you've got someone who spends, maybe 6 months designing some kind of specific new fashion thing. And they poured their heart and soul into this. And, they get it to market and they have blue and they have green and whatever. But in an hour, you've got like some kind of factory and online shop who then takes that design and they literally the next day have it in 17 colors at half the price with an upgrade. Yes. And it's like, well, they're just faster. They just
right.
And so, and in today's day and age, there's everything. It's moved so fast.
Well, and again, that's an area that AI can really help. Just in a practical perspective, I can share a story from yesterday. I'm launching a new AI tool. It's a very simple one. It's just a prompt. I shouldn't say it's a tool. It's a prompt. So it can work on any platform. And I needed to name it something because, of course, a prompt in and of itself is hard. It doesn't have a lot of value because you can copy my prompt and I can't do much to stop you. So I needed to brand it. I needed a name and I needed to come up with something. Candidly, I was tired yesterday. It was almost a 14-hour day. There was a lot going on. So I asked AI to help out with that. And I explained what I was doing. And I said, hey, here, I need to come up with a brand name. And I'm not kidding you. Within 12 minutes, we went from Jonathan has no idea what to call this and how to do it to a named product that I was really proud of, that made sense, to a cover for the ebook that I'm going to put that around or wrap the prompt in. And the prompt was now formatted. The introduction to the ebook was written and the conclusion was done. And I did it all in 12 minutes. And it's not because I'm brilliant. It's simply because I asked the right questions, got good responses. And that is something that even in an optimal environment would have probably taken us a day to do just a year ago. The three main tools that are out there is ChatGPT, which most of us have heard about, Google Gemini, which a lot of us have heard about, and then Claude, which a lot of us haven't heard about. Those are really the three major players in the AI industry. It's so hard not to get caught into that bright, shiny object syndrome that there's a new tool out, I need to use that. With rare exception, and you're probably not one of them if you're listening to this podcast, no offense, but I'm not an exception either, just for the record. Those are the only three tools you need to start off with. And you only need one of them. I recommend people, if they're just getting started, start with ChatGPT. It may not be the best at everything it does, but it's very good, and it has the most features. So it gives you the opportunity to learn and do so well without having to try to figure out, do I go here or do I go there? You just ask it questions. It'll even do image generation. It'll look at photos and analyze them. It's tons and tons of features that it has, very good value. And you can start using it for free nowadays and then decide to pay if and when you decide that you need the extra usage. most of the AI models have moved from when they started, they're free, but you get limited features. And if you pay, you get advanced features. Most of them have moved to here's our product. It's free. And if you want to use it more frequently, you need to pay us. I do that. I do that for all the major models. I also do it for a model called Midjourney for creating images. And those are things that can make sense as you get down your AI journey. Just getting started. You've been sitting on the sidelines and you're going, okay, it's time I do something. Just go to chatgpt.com, sign up for a free account, and start asking it questions. Start asking it to help you write that next email or that memo or create that standard operating procedure that you've been waiting to do because it just seemed a little too arduous. Ask it to help you with that. And literally, if you're not sure what to do, just ask ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. You can do it any of them. How can you help me achieve this goal? And it will come back and tell you the types of things it can do. And then you can say, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And it'll walk you right through the process.
One of the features that I found lately that has been most exciting for me is being able to upload Canva images. So creating some kind of social graphic and then actually uploading it right into ChatGPT and asking it for some caption ideas, different ways, different hashtags, things that I could do with that graphic.
Well, and I want to commend you on doing that. A lot of people don't really think about its vision capabilities and its ability to recognize images. Like you said, you can literally take a social media post image that you've created in Canva, just like you described. You can upload it. You can ask questions about it. It really amazes me how much information it can gather from an image. In fact, one of the things I often do when I'm speaking, I often have slides up in the background, and one of the slides I share is what I call my perfect prompting framework, and it's pretty much a slide full of text, and everybody immediately is like, oh, I got to take notes on that, and they start taking notes, and I'm like, just save yourself the hassle, just take a picture of the screen, upload that to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and go, tell me what's on this image. And it will literally create all of the text that's on that slide, and then they can copy and paste it into their note program super easy. So kudos in doing that. It's amazing how few people I talk to know how to use the Vision program. The other thing that I think is so cool about that is its ability to get context. In other words, I can upload images that I've taken with my cell phone or that, and it can begin describing the scenario of where that is and the situation. You know, if I take a picture of a neighborhood, it identifies it as a neighborhood and the houses and all. It's just, yeah, it's really surprising. And while it's surprising, we're waiting on a new and improved version that they announced about 60 days ago that they have yet to release. So I think that vision feature is going to continue to get even better and better.
Yeah, it's, I couldn't figure, it didn't do it for me when I first started. And so it's one of those things where you're like, oh, sometimes even if you tried to do something, it's the technology is growing and evolving so quickly that, you know, just because it didn't work before doesn't mean that you shouldn't give it another go. One of the biggest challenges I run into is consistency. So whether that be in images or in responses, we've played around with the assistants in ChatGPT, and I learned about them actually because it was required for some other app I was using. They walk you through. You need to create an assistant and connect it to this app. So I was like, oh, okay. So I, how sometimes you're like, oh, well, maybe I could use that same thought for this or that.
100%, yeah.
And so, we've been able to use these assistants. And so being able to, give it more context, more information on a specific topic. But I find that every once in a while, the consistency just kind of vanishes, where it's done something really well for a while and then it just stops.
Yes. That's a common thing I hear a lot nowadays. And in fact, I was just having a discussion on it yesterday, and at the end of the day, I don't know whether my perception, which by the way is the same as yours, is that AI does that, or if my expectations are just so high that now I'm surprised and it's always done it. And I'm not sure which of those it is. I'm honestly not sure. But yeah, it does. That is one of the frustrating parts. And I think we have to do there is we have to remember it's like people. I have great people on my staff that do things right 95% of the time. But even though they know, myself included, what I'm supposed to do, sometimes I don't do it the right way. And AI is going to be like that to a certain extent as well. The same holds true for how AI can make mistakes, because it's been trained on not just the right books and the right knowledge and the right images. It's been trained on all of it. And we've all seen things that we've read, go to the store and there's two books. One has one opinion and one has another opinion. AI got trained on both of them, and nobody told it, you have to believe this book over this book. So it has both, and sometimes it just picks the wrong thing for what we're trying to accomplish. And that's one of the reasons that, going back to what we've been talking about, communicating is so important, because if I want to reflect book A's paradigm, I need to tell it that. And it will do that, no problem. But I need to tell it that. And like you said, sometimes it does things and then it stops doing them. And that's why the proofreading and the validation is so important. We can't just go, oh, A is perfect every single time, because it will make mistakes.
Right. Yeah, and I think really thinking of it as a team member is such great advice, because, same thing. We have team members that do amazing things, but every once in a while, something goes wrong.
Yeah, it's like a train went off the tracks.
Totally. So I've been following you in your Facebook group. Is that the best place for people to connect and follow and learn more about what you're doing and your different prompts pieces that you're teaching?
Well, the easiest way to connect with me is just to remember my name, Jonathan Mast. That's M-A-S-T, and just go to jonathanmast.com/linktree. It's got all my contact information there, every way to link to me. And right at the top is a link to my Facebook group that you mentioned. We've got over 150,000 business people in that group learning how to use prompts, how to communicate, and we share a ton in there. As you know, we don't, it's not a sales group, so you're not going to get a ton of sales pitches. If we find them, we kick them out. We really focus on adding value in there. And I think it's a great resource. I'm a little biased, but I think it's a great resource. If you're trying to learn how to use AI, it's a great place to do that.
Well, I found it to be very interesting because it's showing so many different parts of AI, and the group overall seems like a really great group of people that are all interested in helping each other out, and not the sales pitch, which I think has become the more common Facebook.
Unfortunately, it has.
I'll be sure to drop the links in the show notes as well.
Oh, thank you.
What's that kind of tangible tip that you would recommend to a business owner, maybe that someone that thought, hey, I'm sure this can help my business, but I don't know how?
Great question. Well, I think the most tangible tip I can give you is that as you get started in AI, you're going to begin to get bombarded with messages from people about buying lists of prompts. And I want to discourage you from spending even a penny on those. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on them. That's part of what I do as part of my group. And I have yet to buy one that was worth the money I paid for it. Instead, focus on learning how to write a good prompt. And it's not hard. It really involves 4 simple steps. Step 1, when you start, tell AI what type of expert you want to be talking to. So if I'm writing a social media post, I want to talk to an expert that specializes in writing viral social media. And then give it context. Just as if you and I are collaborating on a project, I need to give you context, or you're not going to know what to do. So I may need to tell it, I want to write a social media post talking about the benefits of using AI in your business. And I want to highlight the fact that it's important to tell your team that it's okay for them to use it as well. And then it's my question. And that question would simply be, write the social media post. And then step 4 is the part that I think most people miss, and in my mind, one of the most important. And that is, AI is programmed to make assumptions and not to fill in the blanks for us. So just say, please ask me any clarifying questions that you need at the end. And you literally can just put that in. And so that's one prompt. I want you to act as an expert social media writer. I want to write a social media post about how important AI is in your business and how it's important to empower your team. Please write that post for me and ask me any clarifying questions you may have. That's my one prompt. And when you do that, guess what? If it needs more information, and it probably will, now you've given it permission. It'll ask you. You can answer those questions. And the response now that you get, in this case, in our sample, the social media post it creates will be magnitudes of order better than what you would have gotten without following that simple process.
Super, super valuable. Yes. And because I think when it wants more information, then it can ask, and then it can use that information to really take it to the next level. Otherwise, much like anyone else, if someone asks you to do something and you have only half the information, you think, gosh, I really wish I knew, what platform this is going on. Am I writing it for LinkedIn or am I writing it for Instagram? 2 very different styles of writing. That's the kind of question that can really change the output.
100%. Yeah. And remember to just, again, give it that context and give it permission to ask you questions. And I think you'll very quickly become a realist that says, wow, this is a great tool that I can use in my business. And it doesn't have to be a tool to change your entire sales methodology or to become all your prospecting. Just use it to help you write a new email, write a social media post, create that SOP. Or one of my favorite uses is just to brainstorm. I have an idea and I'd like you to ask me some questions to determine, is this viable? And have a conversation with that AI tool.
Yes. One of the things I learned that was really helpful for me was saying, I really like this, but I want it to be more in depth, or I want it to be, go a little deeper in this direction, and going back and forth and kind of giving that feedback in terms, and that has really been helpful. And in some instances, some of those conversations where it started out very, what I would say like 3 out of 10, ended up with the most amazing thing in the end, really because of that kind of collaborative back and forth of, I like this, I don't like that, I want more of this, let's not do that again.
Yeah, and I think that, again, that having that conversation is so important. If you and I are working in an environment, again, I'm not going to walk up and say, please write me a social media post and turn around and walk away as you're going, oh, I got some questions. But AI can't tell you it's got questions necessarily. So it then just fills in all the gaps and you get junk because you didn't give it very good information. If you just give it that information, you'll get great responses.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. This has been so incredibly valuable on such a topic that I think really is the part that will revolutionize, the next few years of, I think long term, but for those people, especially that haven't done anything, that biggest step is giving it a try and seeing what it can really do for you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. You're an amazing host, and I'm so happy to be able to share.
Don't forget to click subscribe, like, comment below, and share the episode with a fellow entrepreneur. If you want to take our episodes on the road, they are available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much. See you next time.